Hey, my name is Barry J. Neely, and I wanted to talk to you about a cue I did for the movie Slapface that just came out on Shudder, which is owned by AMC Plus. And it is something that I scored the complete score for, and I'm very excited about it. It's a horror thriller, and it was kind of one of my first horror thrillers, so I wanted to take you through a cue that kind of expanded into the rest of the score. I saw a rough cut of the movie, and I kind of came up with this overall piano theme that I could extract from this main melody that I wrote and have it almost be subtly put throughout the entire score. And then I took the most complicated scene from the movie and I scored that first, because again, I knew I would be extracting from that bit and using those bits all around the score. So it would have instrumentation that I was going to use throughout, and it just kind of covered the bases of everything. Now, that being said, it's a very quick journey. It's a 5-minute journey through this whole emotional turmoil that this kid is going through. And I'll play for you the full cue afterward, but I wanted to go through it a little step by step. So the movie is about this boy whose parents are gone. He lives with his brother. His brother's not very responsible. And he ultimately befriends this witch. Now, this is the scene where he meets the witch for the second time, this witch he's heard about kind of in fables and whatnot. And keep in mind, when you're scoring a film, you are going with the emotion of the story and the characters kind of both simultaneously. Let's start from the beginning of the scene where Lucas is going to this abandoned hospital that he's kind of found. What I kind of established right away was this dulcimer. It's a 4-string Appalachian dulcimer that they call it. And I bowed it with a cello bow because I needed long sustaining instrumentation. That was the key for this whole film. And I tuned it really low, tuned it to E flat, because the primary key for the whole movie was E flat. And, you know, I also kind of took some liberties with notation, tuning. In a horror movie, I don't know, sometimes disharmony is better than harmony. Even though I use the dulcimer throughout the film, there are these blue flowers that he kind of sees when the witch has been around. And I use the scratchiness of the dulcimer to always indicate that those blue flowers were there, which of course is going to indicate that the witch is close. I also use this, you know what? I'll show it to you. This blue Tibetan singing bowl. And I used that to create another tone. It was almost like the scenes where a lot of instrumentation wasn't called for, but we needed an eerie, kind of creepy layer. Kind of adds to the dulcimer. Now, let's just say that even though the key of E flat comes throughout this whole film, E flat minor, the Tibetan singing bowl kind of determined that, but it's not exactly an E flat. It's exactly in between E flat and E. Dissonance is the ultimate goal, so I love the fact that it wasn't in tune. I also have this. You kind of need a low tone throughout a horror movie too, so I have this one. But also, this kind of sound here, it's called Bees synth. I think it was Bees noise Bees, something like that, out of MOTU's Mach 5. And I loved it, and I'm pretty sure I hammered it with a lot of reverb. So we'll continue on with the scene. We also have some beats in here that are made by a low Hirodico, this rumble from the Hirodico that I liked a lot, that I used throughout the film and this cue. And here it's just kind of hitting it almost like a bass drum. I'll just briefly play that for you. It's not adding a lot, but also kind of breaking up the long sustained tones just to give us a few hits. But you notice not much has changed. Lucas saw the blue flowers, so we kind of creep in there. But now he's going to enter the facility, and well, let's just see what happens. I created this film at the beginning of the pandemic, so I knew I would be taking care of a lot of the instrumentation myself. That's fine. It's fine. I don't play everything, and I know how to create sounds when I need to. So that's why I got the dulcimer. That's why I got the Santur, the hammered dulcimer that you'll see later. But I wanted to learn, and I always want to learn about the instruments that I do choose and why the sounds are made. So this harp sound. Harp has strings, of course, but the tunings are dependent on the pedals that you hit, as is my understanding. This sound is created by having your pedal in between switching to another key or another set of tones, and so it creates this kind of buzz, rattling, and I added distortion to that too, just to give it an extra element of edginess. Now, I wanted to make sure that any cool sound that I chose from a library wouldn't be completely apparent and just wouldn't stand alone necessarily, but would be layered with other things. So let's hear it as a whole. And then it ends as soon as Lucas goes into the abandoned hospital. Now, I actually have two Tibetan bowls going on here. I started writing this cue before I bought the real Tibetan singing bowl. So I have a fake one in there and I have the real one in there. The fake one in there, I believe, is lower toned. Now, he's about to see The Witch. The director, Jeremiah Kipp, and I talked a lot about this wasn't going to be a jump scare movie. It's about feeling and creepiness and eeriness and something being off, always being off. What we have here is a chase scene. I didn't want to go full-on chase, and I tried to. I really tried to. Through conversations with Jeremiah, the director, we kind of pared that down, pared it down, pared it down. So we have contrabass slaps. So it's not a hugely steady rhythm, it's more of an accent rhythm. Now, shame on me, I actually play the bass, it's my main instrument, but I don't have an upright acoustic. So this tone came from, again, an east-west sound for the contrabass, and then I highlighted that with pizzicato slaps. B-synth is going in swells, especially when we first see the witch. Kind of starts off the chase. And we have the other big drums. So you've got like a rolling thunder drum, you've got a bass drum, you've got a taiko drum, which is just the hits. A lot of it is in the mid-range and the lower mid-range and the lows. I also have two bass drums going. This is a drum set kick drum where I actually hit it with mallets. So it's a lot of hits. Those, I guess, give me an extra layer while the other bass drum is going. So you've got those low drums working with the upright bass, pizzicato, and effects. The reason for a lot of these tones, the lower tones, is you're going to have the kid screaming, you're going to have the crunch of his footsteps in the leaves, and I don't always want to fight with the frequencies that are going to be put in by the sound editing and the sound design. And the slaps of the contrabass, the pizzicato, are going to probably interfere with the frequencies of some of this stuff, but I needed to have some layers within the music. But I try to not have too many. That's why it's all based upon like low drums. And then this bees synth to kind of fill it all out. Now let's talk about tones, because I have some tones in there. It is only the violins by Spitfire, and they're called frozen strings. So the frozen strings in this go in this ascending line. You'll notice there are 5 sections to that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A lot of the score, for a cool reason that I thought was cool, are in sections of 5. A lot of 5/4 time. Meanwhile, the contrabass is kind of doing an ascending line as well. The ascending line is kind of the witch theme. Overall, I saw a lot of the characters connected, so I don't really have like a theme where it's like, oh, there's the witch, there's the theme it's gonna play. But it does have this ascending line that I always use when we're focused on the witch. I played the last 2 notes wrong, but you got it. This is a chase scene, so I needed the notes to kind of be a little bit rhythmic. So here's the whole thing together. Now the next part is where we have the live violin of Crissy J doing the sustained note that I use often throughout the film, just not very much in this cue. And it is a waiting for the witch to attack, not knowing where the witch is. It's just a dizzying, suspenseful cue. There's the violin. The rumbles, of course. That bees synth that I love so much. That kind of build up to when the witch grabs him. Now this next cue you'll notice is very important, why I chose the instrumentation. I knew the kid was going to scream because I heard it in the movie in the rough track, so I wanted to make room for that scream. So he's kind of an upper mid-range, maybe a upper mid-range, and I chose a very high-pitched. Again, it's that bees synth, but it's the high version. Now it sounds like bees or crickets, actually. Now the important shift here, because we have him going into the building, where it's kind of what's going on. Then he sees the witch, he gets scared, he gets a jump scare. Then it's a chase scene. Then it's a dizzying what's happening next scene. And now it's going to go into this, the witch isn't bad. She might be good. I don't know, but I'm not going to run away anymore. But I do a shift and I have these lower tones coming in. I chose very warm layers. It wasn't like, here's the harmony of this part. It's like there's a lot of dissonance and there's a lot of non-harmonic stuff here. It's not exactly noise, but it's not exactly completely together in a chord or whatnot. And I'm going to play you this cue without the apprehension sounding santur, which is the hammered dulcimer. So the layer I'm very proud of, but that I kept on pushing towards the bottom, is this guzheng, which is a Chinese stringed instrument. I love the feeling of peace it brought throughout this part of the cue, especially because Lucas is warming up to the monster. So all the high pitch stuff goes away and the low pitch starts coming in, and you have a warm feeling of maybe this is okay. But I didn't want it to be he's just accepting of the switch immediately, but he clearly in his eyes right here is kind of coming around to this, which might be a friend. So the 4-string dulcimer I used at the beginning, I bowed with the cello. This one I hit with the hammers because it's called a hammered dulcimer. It's an Iranian version of it. And it's providing the apprehending melody to it all. Now, one thing you'll notice is that there's actually another note going on here. Often, when I play something or record something, I have this kind of dance where I add a lot in, take some out, record it, take some out, record it again, and then at the end of the cue, I'm like, it still needs to be pared down, but I've put all my recording stuff away. The Santoor is out of tune at this point. So I just try to edit the sound waves, the sound bites instead. So that's what you're witnessing here. So I'll show you the hidden notes of Slapface. It was just a repetition of the previous note, but I didn't want it. Now the Tibetan singing bowl is growing too, and then you're gonna have this moment of peace with the scratchiness of the dulcimer that's gonna take us out. So there it is. There is the cue to a very involved scene. I would count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish, 8 sections within one cue, within 5 minutes. It was because I wrote this first that I was able to keep the ideas consistent throughout the whole movie. All right, I'm gonna play you the whole thing. As usual, I am on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook at Barry J. Neal. You might resurrect my TikTok account one of these days too. Find me there, say hello, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. Take care.